Title: The $50,000 Truck Trap, a Judge, Judy's story of love, lies, and financial ruin. The harsh, unforgiving lights of the television studio felt like an interrogation lamp to, Jake Dorsey. A young man whose world had been turned upside down by a gleaming piece of metal and a broken promise. Across the cavernous space sat the woman he once loved, Amy Beverly. Her expression a carefully constructed mask of injured innocence that made his stomach churn with a volatile cocktail of lingering affection and pure, undiluted rage. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. This grand, imposing courtroom set, with its fake wood and looming American flag, was a far cry from the cozy apartment they once shared, a place filled with laughter and plans for a future that now lay in ashes. The case before the legendary, no-nonsense Judge Judy was deceptively simple on paper. Jake was suing his ex-girlfriend, Amy, for unpaid car payments and the cost of flashy vehicle upgrades he'd poured his soul into, while Amy, with a calculated coldness that still shocked him, was countersuing for a bed, 2 cell phones, and something far more insidious, a claim of invasion of privacy that felt like a final vicious twist of the knife. The air was thick with unspoken history and the bitter scent of betrayal, a palpable tension that promised a showdown where someone would leave financially and emotionally eviscerated. Judge Judy. A figure of formidable authority, whose very presence commanded a silence so deep you could hear the nervous rustle of clothing, fixed her piercing gaze on Jake Dorsey. Her voice, sharp and clear as a shard of glass, cut through the tense atmosphere. "Mr. Dorsey, you and Ms. Beverly lived together for a period of time," she stated, not asking, but establishing a fact, a foundation for the coming storm. "While you were living together, you needed a truck." Jake, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird, shifted uncomfortably in the stiff chair, feeling the weight of 1,000 unseen eyes upon him. "I just needed some transportation, period," he replied, his voice tighter than he intended, the memory of that simple initial need now seeming laughably naive. "I just chose the truck, though." "Yes." He remembered the sun-drenched day at the dealership. Amy's hand in his, her excited chatter about road trips and hauling furniture for their future home, a future that shimmered with possibility, now exposed as a cruel mirage. Judge Judy, with the uncanny ability to see straight through the fog of human emotion to the cold, hard facts, zeroed in on the core of the issue with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. "But I assume that the reason that you put the truck in Ms. Beverly's name is because she had better credit than you did. Is that correct?" Jake felt a hot flush of shame and frustration creep up his neck. "Not necessarily," he deflected, the lie tasting sour in his mouth. He knew it. Judge Judy knew it, and everyone in the room knew it. The truth was a stark, embarrassing reality. His credit was a wreck, a patchwork of youthful financial missteps, while Amy's was pristine, a fact she had offered up with sweet, supportive smiles that now felt like a carefully laid trap. "Well, Mr. Dorsey," Judge Judy said, her tone laced with a knowing finality that sent a chill down his spine. "Let me explain something to you. This is going to be a very, very easy case." Jigsaw, clinging to a fragile hope that justice would see his side, his sacrifice, murmured, "Yes, ma'am?" But the sinking feeling in his gut told him he was standing on the edge of a cliff. "You bought a truck, you put down the down payment, and you made the payments," she outlined, each word a hammer blow. "The truck was in the defendant's name." "Correct," Jake interjected, a desperate attempt to maintain some semblance of control. "Which means it's her truck," Judge Judy declared, her voice booming with the force of immutable law. "It belongs to her." The words landed like a physical blow, stealing the air from his lungs. Her truck. The truck he had painstakingly chosen. The truck he had proudly driven off the lot. The truck into which he had poured thousands of his hard-earned dollars for a down payment, and every single month since, was, in the eyes of the law, unequivocally, Amy Beverly's. The injustice of it was a fire in his veins. Now, what you're asking for is the down payment that you put down on the truck and the monthly payments that you put down on the truck. Judge Judy continued, dismantling his entire case with brutal efficiency. Well, you can't get that until you refinance the truck in your name. A wave of panic washed over Jake. I bought 2 cars already, he blurted out, a desperate, irrelevant fact thrown into the fray, revealing his utter confusion and the financial hole he had dug for himself, trying to move on from this disaster. Do you understand? Judge Judy unpressed, her patience visibly thinning. Well, then that's too bad. The finality in her voice was devastating. If it was her truck, it's her truck. But Jake tried to argue, to explain the nuance, the unspoken agreement, the love that was supposed to make such legalities meaningless. Listen to me, sir, Judge Judy commanded, her voice slicing through his protest like a whip crack. Very, very easy. She's not paying you a dime because— Really? Jacob interrupted, the word bursting forth laden with disbelief and a profound sense of betrayal that stretched far beyond the courtroom, and back to the moment he realized the woman he loved saw him as a financial mark. Really? Judge Judy confirmed, her gaze unwavering. Because if she were to give you the truck, she would still be on the loan. The title would still be in her name. You could do whatever you wanted with that truck. If you got into an accident and didn't pay insurance, it would be her responsibility. She laid out the cold, logical reality, a reality where trust and love had no legal standing. So what you had to do was say, listen, I'm going to refinance the truck. It was my truck. We understood that. I made the payments on it. You chose not to do that. That's incorrect. Ma'am, Jacob insisted, his voice rising with frustration. The memory of that very conversation playing in his mind. A conversation that ended with Amy's tears and accusations of him not trusting her. A manipulation that now felt so transparent. Did she tell you to refinance the truck? Judge Judy demanded, turning her attention to Amy, who had been sitting with a placid, almost bored expression. Listen, this is what happened. Jakes began, trying to tell the full story, the story of promises and emotional blackmail. No. Judge Judy had cut him off, her authority absolute. Don't tell me, listen. I'm asking you whether she asked you. No, she didn't, Jake admitted, the admission feeling like a defeat. Then, Judge Judy turned her formidable attention to Amy Beverly. Mouse. Did you ask him to refinance the truck? Amy, her voice suddenly sweet and reasonable. A complete transformation from the vengeful ex who had filed the countersuit, replied. I told her I wanted to refinance the truck, and she wouldn't let me do it. The sheer audacity of the lie left Koki, Jake and reeling. And I didn't even ask her to put the truck in her name, he added. The memory of her insisting, of her presenting it as a practical, loving solution for their future, now a source of self-loathing for his own gullibility. Amy seized her moment, her eyes widening with feigned sincerity. What happened was, he was supposed to sign a piece of paper stating that he would keep up the payments on the truck and he would be allowed to take the truck. She presented this as if it were the most reasonable request in the world, but without him signing a notarized paper. I wasn't going to let him leave with a $50,000 truck in my name, 'cause you're right, he could have done anything. She was using Judge Judy's own logic as a shield, portraying herself not as a vengeful ex, but as a prudent, responsible adult victimized by your Jake's unreasonableness. The hypocrisy was staggering, and I understood all of Jake and started, the sheer madness of the situation overwhelming him. I don't even want to say it. Just whatever, though, he scoffed, a sound of utter defeat and disgust, slumping back in his chair, the fight draining out of him as he saw the legal walls closing in. You have the truck? Judge Judy asked, a new piece of the puzzle falling into place. I do. Jake confirmed, the massive, shiny Chevy Silverado sitting in his driveway feeling like a monument to his own foolishness. Who's making payments on it? Me. Since when? since this month was my first payment." The admission was pathetic, a testament to a battle already lost. "When did you purchase the truck?" "I purchased it in May 10th. He remembered the date with painful clarity. "It was the day after they had celebrated their 6-month anniversary with a romantic dinner." "Is it new?" "Yeah, it was brand new." "So it lost value as soon as you took it out of the shop?" Judge Judy stated, driving home the financial catastrophe. "Correct. What kind of truck is it?" "It's a Chevy Silverado, a symbol of American strength and reliability, now a $50,000 anchor around his neck." "And when did he leave?" Judge Judy asked. "Amy, moving to the final act of their personal tragedy." "He left November," Amy said, her voice taking on a slight wounded edge. "I was put out in November," Jakeson corrected, the memory of that night flooding back. The screaming argument, the slammed doors, the final chilling sound of her on the phone, not to a friend, but to the police. "You left," Amy R. insisted, her eyes glinting with a hard light. "You called the police," Jake shot back, the humiliation of being escorted from what he thought was his home by officers, treated like a trespasser in his own life, burning fresh in his mind. "You called somebody with a badge and a gun." The image was too much, the final, ultimate betrayal. "We're done!" Judge Judy barked, her voice a thunderclap that silenced the room. The gavel came down with a sharp, conclusive crack. But the real explosion was the one happening inside Jake Dorsey's heart. The complete and total demolition of his trust, his finances, and his faith in fairness, all over a beautiful, treacherous woman and a $50,000 truck that was never, ever his. Lesson for the listeners and viewers. The tragic and financially devastating saga of Jake Dorsey and Amy Beverly serves as a brutal, unforgettable lesson in the absolute necessity of separating emotion from finance, especially in romantic relationships. No matter how deep the love, how bright the future seems, or how much you trust your partner, the law deals in cold, hard facts, names on titles and signatures on contracts. Never, ever put a major asset like a car or a house solely in your partner's name, even if their credit is better. That single act can transform you from an investor into a mere donor, with no legal leg to stand on when things fall apart. If you choose to commingle finances, do so with the clear-eyed pragmatism of a business partnership. Formalize everything, define ownership percentages in writing, and establish a legally binding plan for what happens if the relationship ends. Love should not require you to sign away your financial security. Protect yourself first, because as Jake learned in the most painful way possible, the court of law cannot and will not fix the price you pay for a broken heart, only the financial mess left in its wake. Let his $50,000 mistake be your free education.